Hi, this is Ricky from Data Mastery. Welcome to our channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about something which is quite popular nowadays, and that's called MCP, Model Context Protocol Server. What is it? Why we need this? What's the future? So we're going to discuss that. And also, I'm going to touch base on Cursor IDE, which we can leverage to build the entire MCP server. So we are going to see how Cursor can help us with building applications. But first, take a look at MCP. Now, before you look into MCP, let's try to understand. Let's go back and see where we started from. So if you look at the left side, this is what LLMs are, and the LLMs are something which we got to know a few years back when ChatGPT came into the market, and everybody was start talking about that. So we started with GPT-1, and now we are like GPT-3, GPT-4, GPT-O. So all those new refined versions of the large language models came into the market. And GPT was kind of the de facto standard or kind of the go-to language model, but now we have several other foundational models or language models that are available, like Claude Sonnet, Llama, and Amazon Neo, and all those other models as well, like some domain-specific models that you can download from Hugging Face model catalog. But the point is that we started with LLMs, and LLMs were just kind of models which were trained or pre-trained on the data which already exists, like the data from Stack Overflow or some the publicly available data on the Wikipedia. So these models were trained on the data which was available, and these models was like so heavy when the initial model came into the market. It was like so expensive to train the model, but that kind of changed how we kind of get the information. Like we used to do the Google search and get the information, and we just used to use that information. If you're coding or you're looking for something very generic information, just use to Google. But now once you have the chat GPT came in, and then you basically doing some fancy search because you are searching something, and it gives you back a very user friendly response. Instead of giving you the web pages, it gives you a kind of a response, and it feels like you're talking to a human, right? But if you look at the architecture, and if you look at the functionality or the capability of the models when we started, these were just kind of trained on the data, and you feel like you're talking to a human because the response that you get from these models were like more of like a conversation. But if you ask these models, okay, hey, okay, you search something, you get a response, and then you say, okay, hey, email me this response. So these models won't be able to do that, right? So in order to make these models more intelligent, you build tools. So this is what the current state is. Like we have like so many tools which are being built by so many vendors or even individual contributors. So you have tools like you can search the internet. For example, this is what was used by Perplexity when Perplexity launched. So what was the USP of Perplexity? So it was you can do a better search and the real-time search. So not just the search which is based on the model's cutoff date. So let's say your model was trained based on the data in October 2023. So whatever happened in after October 2023, your model had no idea about that. So that's where you build a tool and you allow the real-time search, right? So you go to the search, you search the similarly the way you do the Google search. So you do the real-time search, and then you feed that model, you feed that data, the search data, to your model, and then you get the nice, pretty response. So this is what Perplexity was built on, and it changed the entire the game on how you search the information. So instead of like traditional Google search, now you're using Perplexity. Similarly, generating the code. So you are giving some instructions, and the model is going to generate the code for you and creating the images and whatnot. So This is kind of the era or kind of the current state of where we are at with respect to AI and the models. Now, where we are shifting towards is something that is what you see on the right side. And this is where the MCP architecture and how the AI agents are going to operate. So that's become very important to understand. Now, what is MCP architecture? What is MCP server and client, and why we need it basically? Now imagine you are building tools. You have search tool, you have some other custom tools that you build, and everybody is kind of doing the same thing, right? So I'm building my own search tool, and there's another company, for example, they are building their own search tool, but there is no standard way how we are integrating these search tools. So we are just building and we are just publishing these tools into our application. So for example, if you go to ChatGPT, you see these tools now. So the tools are like help you to search the web, create the image, write the code, or the deep research. So these are all tools. So if I build my another tool to search the web, that is basically a duplication of what OpenAI has already built, right? So is there a way that I can use this search the web tool, which is already built by OpenAI? And how can I make sure that that tool is gonna fit into my architecture? Or what are the standards that I should follow, or the creators of the tools should follow? Similar to the REST API. So like the REST APIs has some standards. If you're building your APIs, you have to follow those standards, and you can easily integrate that with any platform, right? Or you can consume APIs from any service provider. So this is the whole idea behind this model context protocol architecture. So this is something which is introduced by Anthropic. Anthropic is the company behind Claude models. So what they say, okay, you guys are building all of these tools, so let us publish a standard. When you have a standard, you build the tools, following that standard. So that if you publish your tools, so other consumers can consume that based on the standard. And similarly, you can consume others' tool as well in your application based on the standards. So this is the whole point behind MCP architecture, and this is kind of makes a lot of sense, because now we are adding some standards and some the formatting and whatnot, so that we are going to start building agents, and we are going to start building tools with a unified architecture and standard in place. Now you can connect with multiple MCP servers. The MCP server, for example, has some connection to a specific data source, which is, let's say you're a company and you have like tons of proprietary data about financial domain or something. Now you can build your MCP server, and you can connect this data source with your MCP server, and then you can expose this as an API, and I as a client can consume this, and you can charge me money because I'm basically consuming your data, right? And similarly, there may be another MCP server which connects to another remote service which is built by some other company exposed as their using MCP server exposed as APIs. So you can use that to connect with another remote service. And similarly, if somebody has built a custom service, they can expose that as API by hosting their MCP server. And you as a client, you can connect with all these MCP servers. Now, when I say client, a client could be your IDE, and the Cursor is one of those clients where you can register the different MCP servers. Or the another step, which is kind of getting some pace right now, is AI agents. So this is kind of a more futuristic approach. So we have all the agents which people are building. If you are using AWS, you're using it Amazon Bedrock to build the agents and creating the flows and whatnot. Now, what if your agents should be able to connect to all these MCP servers based on the query that you're going to pass to the agent, which is kind of your prompt, and your agents are gonna act on your behalf and do certain things, do certain operations like launching a database in your organization. So agents can launch that. Similarly, do some other operations, right? Now, when agents are acting on your behalf, agents need to store whatever the whatever the task that they're performing or the configs somewhere. And this is where you use Postgres, because Postgres allows you to store the embeddings using PG vector extension. And if you're following all the latest announcements in the AI world, especially recently we had data summits by Databricks and Snowflake, they all introduced or announced some sort of acquisition of Postgres third-party companies like Neon and Crunchy Data. Now, why these players are going to buy these Postgres-based companies? Like, Postgres is not a new database. The reason for that is Postgres is lightweight, that you can use that in your agent pipelines, and also Postgres supports storing the embeddings, and you can just launch Postgres on the fly, do certain tests, and then tear it down. Or if you're using agents, your agents are acting on your behalf, then they can store whatever the steps they're performing in Postgres, obviously by creating the embeddings, and then Postgres saves that. So this thing is coming, the thing at the bottom. This is where you will see more innovation or some more experiments or something, announcements. You'll see more on the Postgres with AI agents along with MCP, because MCP is still very new. So this area right here on your right side of the screen, this is the future. This is where you should be focusing on. If you're into AI world, you're working as AI engineer, data engineer, or even like as a DevOps guy, or because these things are going to touch in every field, whatever you are working on. So pay close attention to MCP servers, clients, MCP architecture, AI agents, along with Postgres. Now, if I show you, this is the core components of the architecture of MCP, which is what I explained earlier. So you have your client, you have your host. This is basically client, host, server architecture. And you see that you have the servers here, which probably has access to external APIs. And this server has access to certain files and Git repositories. So this is your local machine. This is kind of remote service. So this is the future, and this is what people are kind of working on. If you look at some examples here, so I've logged into this openai.com. Under the tools, you can see they have this new capability to use remote MCP with OpenAI. So all you have to do is you have to import this OpenAI library, and then you can use responses API and connect with remote MCP server. So you have to provide the server URL and whatever the server label, and this is how you can construct your remote service configuration and then use that. So there are certain popular remote MCP servers like Cloudflare, HubSpot, Intercom. So all these are available, but this is kind of very, very new space, and you'll see a lot of new developments in this world. And you can also, under the tools, you can see that there are a bunch of tools which are created by OpenAI. For example, web search, function calling, file search. Now, when you have to build something like web search, you don't need to build from scratch. You should be able to leverage what OpenAI has built for you, and you just need OpenAI API key and import this configuration into your MCP client, and that's all. So that's where the industry is going. Somebody's building something, okay, fine, but build according to the standards so that others can reuse that. So that's the basic logic behind MCP. So this is all about something, whatever the developments are going on. I just wanted to touch base with you guys. But let's say how you can build these tools, how you can build these tools faster, or if you're not a kind of a software developer, but you still want to build these tools and experiment and play with this. So I would strongly recommend you to use Cursor. So what Cursor is, it is an IDE. It's a fork of VS Code, and you can simply so this is a desktop application. So you download that from Cursor. So let me show you here. So if you go to Cursor, so you can go to cursor.com and you can download this tool here. And once you download, then you can log in and you can get the 2 weeks free trial. After that, you have to pay this much. So this is similar to Copilot, GitHub Copilot, but I found that this is better than Copilot in terms of writing code. Like, it is more intelligent than Copilot, and it does a lot of things which Copilot doesn't do. But we are going to explore more on the capabilities of Cursor and how you can start writing code using Cursor in the upcoming videos. But what I want to show you is here you can see that you have three modes here. This is similar to Copilot. You can have the agent mode or ask, which is more about the conversation and chats, or the manual within the agent. So agent is something which you use to write the code, and you have access to these models. So I'm using the free trial one, so I don't have access to all the latest models. If I try to use Claude 4, it gives me the error because I'm on a free trial. However, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, it works very good if you are writing the code. So if you want to use this to write the code, which we are going to use it for, then Claude 3.5 is very, very good model for that. So what I have right now here, I have built this MCP server and added some capabilities just in 2 hours using Cursor. So what this application does, it supports the RAG workflow. For example, you can ingest your private data. Like if you have a PDF, you can ingest that PDF. It supports that. You can ingest some document from web. For example, if your model is not something which is trained on latest information, or you have something within your organization which is not exposed to the public internet, but you can ingest that information to the model based on your private URL. And third, it also supports the search functionality, which I'm using open source search functionality in this. So I'm just using that instead of building my own. So you can basically type a query, and if the model does not find this in your local Postgres vector store, then it will go and search the internet. I'm using Postgres to store the PDFs and the other documents that I ingest using the private URLs or public URLs. And then it also supports checking the weather of any city, the current weather. So your LLMs can't do that, right? But your agent can. So now you expose this as a tool so that people can use your tool to check the weather on any given day for any city. So these are like some of the functionalities I added. This is just a POC. Nowhere it's a production grade application. But in the upcoming videos, I'll show you how to build MCP server and the client and the agent using Cursor. So that's where you see the real kind of the value of tools like Cursor and how they can act as your, you can say, help you with the code generation and whatnot. So I even put the basic authentication to the API, and this is the whole thing. Like you can use the curl to connect to your API and get the response, or you can use the agent. So I have this agent.py here. So I can run the agent, and based on the query, the agent is gonna go to whatever the tool that I built intelligently, and then use those tools and response back to my query. So this is something which will be see in the upcoming videos. We'll just do everything from scratch, live coding using Cursor. So hope you like this video. This was kind of the informational video because I was on the Databricks conference and I see a lot of these news about the Postgres being acquired. The SaaS Neon company, which is a startup in which provides managed Postgres. So Databricks acquired Neon, and Snowflake acquired Crunchy Data. So there's like a lot of hype going on, the war of Postgres. And some people think that, okay, this is more of adding OLTP capabilities, because both Databricks and Snowflake supports building apps now. Like Snowflake has been using, they supported building apps for a while, but now Databricks also added that capability that you can build apps right in the Databricks platform and use Postgres as your OLTP. But this is more than OLTP. This is not just, they are not acquiring like the companies and spending millions to acquire the companies just to have OLTP capabilities. This is more on the agentic AI side, right? Your agents are going to start acting on your behalf and store all the configurations in the OLTP database, which is going to be Postgres. The Neon company, which Databricks acquired, they claim that 80% of their databases are basically created by the agents and not by the humans. And where you store all that information in some other database, which is Postgres, and that is a perfect fit. So that's the war of Postgres. And we'll keep on updating you about the new developments in the AI world and how you can keep the pace with these things, not putting too much technical jargons in my videos, but go through the overall, like where we are heading towards and how you can keep the pace with this, and what tools you should be using in order to upskill yourself and also make this development fast and learn from it. Like when you're using Cursor, don't just use to generate the code, but after generating the code, you should ask, like, okay, explain me the meaning of this code. Like, what's the point of writing this line, that line? So Cursor is going to explain you everything. So that's the way to learn from these tools. So this is super, super helpful. Thanks for watching the video, and stay tuned for more informational videos. Do subscribe to our channel if you haven't done that, and hit that the bell icon to get you notified whenever we drop a new video. Thanks again. Cheers.